Thank you, Caitlin, and welcome everyone. This is going to be some fantastic uh, conversations that are going to happen today. My name is Jeri Brunoe. I am from the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, Oregon, and I am a consultant with the Tribal Youth Resource Center, and I work with the youth ambassadors and these very amazing young people that are here with us today. So we'd like to get them to go ahead and give us an introduction of themselves. And I was really asking them to tell us who you are, not necessarily always the title, but about who you are. And let's go with Caitlin.
Skuktash, Anya Chugik, Jukma, Mirigan Chugik, Kaitlin Martinez. Anya Amjad Gugki. Hello, everyone. My autumn name is Jukma. That translates to rain baby or ladybug. And then my name is Kaitlin Martinez. I'm from the Gila River Indian community. And I am a TYRC youth ambassador mentor. Also, I wear many hats, but my latest venture is I was fortunate enough to realize that there's some needs in my community, and one need was there was a need for like healthy food, for indigenous food in our community, like real indigenous food, like beyond fried bread, beyond like stuff like that. And I was able to do that. So now I'm the owner of a food trailer, the Ranch Mobile Eatery. Pretty awesome. It's super. I still can't get over it sometimes. I've been called a chef recently, and I was like, whoa, I'm just a cook. So, yeah, just super honored to be here to share this space and to give a little insight. And we'll pass it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. That's awesome. I love that. I'd like to now ask our next presenter. We'll just go and roll with the slide. Sydney?
White Haskahal Isquinchu, Squinanahakiana, or Skumkama Yuchin Shiwatum. Hello and good morning, everybody. My name is Sydney Matheson. My Indian name is Rainbow Girl. Both translations are one side from my mom's side of the family and the other side from my dad's, where my name was given. I am an enrolled member of the Colville Confederated Tribes out of North Central Washington State, and also have family from the Coeur d'Alene tribe in Idaho. I am in the middle of waiting for my next part of school to start. I just graduated with a criminal justice degree from Wenatchee Valley College, and I have been accepted to Arizona State University for a bachelor's of public policy and public service with a focus in homeland security and emergency management. I have also applied to a summer program through Harvard Business School for tribal tribal nation leadership, and was accepted, so I'll be there this summer. Other hats I wear: I am Miss Washington in the America's Next Miss Scholarship pageant. I am a involved big sister, auntie, granddaughter, daughter, and another new thing, a model. I got my first model gig in a fashion show on the 30th. Yeah, I spend my time as I work as a certified nursing assistant. I do travel work for that, and otherwise I just sit at home and paint with my nieces and nephews. But thank you guys for having me, and I look forward to hearing what everyone has to say.
Thank you, Sydney. Amazing, amazing. So we'd like Kyla.
Yes, of course. Well, first of all, I am in awe by both of you. That's so amazing. I first would say I'm someone who found purpose in my pain, and I think that having an opportunity at 18 to really understand the systems and the structures that I've interacted with, supported me in taking some of that shame and pain and all of the things that I was feeling at the time, and allowing me to just have a macro or a wider lens, but also build community in that. So I would say that I'm someone who now believes that all of our pain has a purpose, but has really found opportunity, both economically and in terms of my personal life, and being able to work and in this space and build towards generational wealth and the wealth that I believe that our communities have been stripped from. So for that reason, I was really inspired by some of the work that I've seen. A lot of our mentors and aunties and people that have wrapped their arms around me, and so decided to launch Clover Strategies. It's a capacity building and technical assistance company that allows folks to really get some tailored and individualized support to map out what enhanced coordination of services can look like in their community. So all of this actually, I decided to launch it after meeting you all and in the start of the new year. And so I am someone who continues to be inspired by this work, by you all. And I'm gonna pop that link in the chat so y'all can check out my website.
Fantastic. Wow. Yes, we've got some entrepreneurs with us. So that's what we want, right? That's what we want. We want that journey to really move forward. So our final, but not least, presenter, Tina.
Hey everyone, it is amazing to be here. And as always, it is hard to follow up all of my delegates. But so to get to know me, my name is Tina Harris, pronoun she, hers. I work out of the state of New Mexico. I basically have the personality of a cat. If you leave me alone and just let me be, I'm cool. I love to be in the sun. I love warm days. Rainy days sitting by the window are great for me too. As far as participating in youth engagement, it's my life, it's my passion. I think that foster youth and youth that have been involved in the juvenile justice systems are just underrated. So anything that I can get my hands on, I try to. So right now I am working with the Center for Coordinated States with a youth engagement toolkit. I am also doing a regional coordinator internship with an FYI this summer, and I'll be actually able to take the youth delegates to DC, whereas I was a delegate last year going to DC. So very excited about that. I am also more involved with my Juvenile Justice Advisory State Committee. Since the conference, it has opened my eyes to a whole nother side of everything that I was missing. So I'm very excited to be able to work behind the scenes with them. And we are going on our first hopeful in-person retreat at the end of April. And I am a keynote speaker. Very excited. Other than that, I mean, anything that I can get my hands on as far as engagement. I'm doing a Youth Move Leadership Academy for the last couple Saturdays, and I think there's one more going on right now. And just keeping the work going. That's all.
I wouldn't say that's all, Tina. That's a lot. Congratulations to all of you, because you all are all just just launching, starting off your lives and really already making a huge impact in your young lives. And so that's why we found it really important to have you all here as a panel to share, you know, our journey, our story, our voice as young people. And I'm going to start this panel as your moderator with the first question. And so, and what we'll do is, as you answer the question, just go ahead and the next person can go right on into that that we have listed there. So our first question is, can you all share reflections from the TYRC, you know, national conference and the CCAS national conference that was happening, you know, at the same time, and we were doing a little bit of crossovers, and can you share with us what your roles were there? And we'll go ahead and start with Sydney.
Yeah, my role at the conference was as a Tribal Youth Resource Center youth ambassador, and I was there to speak my truths. And honestly, I went there not really knowing what to expect. A lot of the things that I was a part of as a panelist, I joined maybe in the last 2 planning sessions, but they came out really strong, and I ended up meeting a lot of great people and resources, allies. I think a big part of it was that everyone was so excited to see all of us youth, and that just kind of kept our momentum going. And that in itself being pretty historical, monumental of us just being there. What made that even more of like a big moment for me was Administrator Ryan. She of the OJJDP, she went out of her way to greet me every time I went into a room or make space for me. Even when I was in a session, she would be in the front row writing notes. And so at the end, I think the biggest part of it for me was I got to see and hear real raw words of how people in like these big positions really care about us kids, and it just gives me a lot of hope, a lot of hope.
I also really appreciated you could feel the support from the administration and how they had been very intentional about ensuring that young people were centered in the space. It was, there were a lot of, I'd say points like aha moments of, or moments that made me say like, okay, in terms of like strategy and the work that we do as young people collectively together, okay, we've got to tackle that and we've got to tackle that. So it was I remember there was a moment that, you know, was upsetting in terms of the, like, it made me think, okay, wow, we have a lot of players at different points of, at different stages in their journey, essentially, of really working with youth and understanding youth and really assessing like our biases and just the attitudes. And so it was so wonderful because you felt like this love and just like pockets of, you know, when you see folks taking notes and really engage with you. But on the other side of that, when you hear questions or statements that are like, what? Also kind of really did show that, okay, we need more of this. Like we need to talk more. And so it was a beautiful opportunity, both to just to meet. I had not met any of the panelists in person before, so it was wonderful to come together and strategize and coordinate. But it was also really eye-opening in terms of perspectives. I think you can get really used to how people around you think and how people in your bubbles approach the work in the space, and understand the communities that are most impacted. And so it really made me want to invest more in building, meeting people where they're at, but also being very clear about the response we need.
Yeah, so the conference definitely was pretty eye-opening, was very rewarding in a lot of ways. Like Sydney said, I actually felt heard. And we showed up there, not really, we never, the ambassadors anyways, we never met in person. So we showed up, and kind of that social anxiety was there a little bit. And then by the first day, we went from like peers to like community. We were supporting each other as a community at that point. And we filled in for each other when we needed. We finalized the rest of our projects, and excuse me. And then in a lot of ways, it was eye-opening. I was still figuring out at the time exactly what my role was in the continued work with TYRC. During this time, I really realized the need for language, culture, and in the juvenile systems. As native communities, we know that language and culture are our substance abuse prevention, our suicide prevention, is delinquency prevention. And so I started really thinking like how can I really gather my resources? How can I like try to make this happen in my own community? And it just really got the wheels turning. And in a lot of ways, I was able to, I guess, step up as my role. And I got to really talk with our fellow ambassadors, and we really created a bond that I think is gonna last for a while, and we're gonna do a lot of good work. And so it just really solidified a lot of things for me, and opened my eyes to a lot of things. And it was very, very moving.
Yes, definitely moving. I find it amazing that you guys had not met in person before, because when we were in the room with you guys, you felt like a family. And I think it's amazing that you point that out, because that's how it felt with Kyla, and it felt with Mylan. Shout out to Mylan. Like we had not met in person, even Timber, like it was amazing to see how we all meshed and clicked even in person. So I mean, everybody felt like a family to me. That was one of my biggest takeaways, was that in the push for youth engagement and in the push for the betterment of the system, we're all doing an amazing thing within ourselves. We're creating connections, we're giving ourselves that support. So I love that we all came away with it, we all came away from the conference with that, the support. Another thing was, again, just how much they made us feel so heard. I myself remember going and chasing down the keynote speakers and being like, wait, can I just have a moment to ask you this 1-2 questions? I was getting cornered in the elevator. That was so wild to me. Like that gave me a different perspective that I had not thought I would have at this point in time in my life after my past. So, I mean, just being able to take away that was an amazing feeling. Another thing was just the way that we were able to connect with people that have been behind the scenes for so long, that have experience with what we're talking about, but they always feel like we have a fresh perspective. That's so huge to me, because people that get involved with systems like this, they do tend to get bogged down with all the paperwork and the bureaucracy and everything else going on, that they're not really willing to hear the fresh stuff because it just adds to their plate. So I appreciate that all of them were so open, because it in turn, it makes more work for them, but they're willing to take that on. And that shows us that we are what they're telling us. We are important.
So powerful, and to hear all of your experiences, and the one thing that really comes to mind is relationships, building relationships, and how important that is to our healing and to how we move forward. And so I'm really in awe of you all, as we're seeing here in the chat, all of the wonderful words that are already being shared with you. And I'd like to kind of like add on to this. Can you share, a couple of you share some of those workshops that you did, and what was that like in regards to, some of the responses that you were receiving? And let's Kyla, can you share, and then I'm gonna jump on over to Sydney.
Yeah, of course. So I was super excited. There was a workshop. It was focused on special populations, which is really exciting, because when you feel like there's a years long of work that you've done, and you're ready to kind of present it, but also pick folks' brains, was a wonderful idea, to kind of pull people out and have those strategy sessions. I did realize, though, we might have needed to do something to get ready and get folks ready to collaborate, right, with young people. Number one, in terms of, so there was two things, and I promise there was so much positive in it, but in terms of what lessons learned, though, I do want to pull out two things, right? So it was wonderful to be able to lead and facilitate. However, I don't know if there is, okay, I'm gonna say it this way. I really struggled to get people out their seats, just being honest, right? Like when we had opportunities for folks to engage, I realized that we might have needed to sit down collaboratively and understand either the ways that folks in the space wanted to, or kind of coach them on, hey, this is what we're about to do, so it's not so shocking, right? Because we came into that panel and we were like, okay, everybody get up and go to the wall and write this and write, and it kind of at a certain point we're like walking around like, okay, I'll write it for you, what do you know, and really trying to, so it made me understand that we've gotten used to, it's a privilege to be in spaces where folks naturally, or by, through consistent effort, have been able to collaborate and get energized and pull folks in without, that fear, right? Or that hesitance. So it made me, it provided an opportunity for me to see that folks don't always just inherently know how to connect or share what maybe they really think without it think in a way. I think folks can struggle to share what they think in a space through, I think you can assume that folks are going to communicate that you communicate, right? The way that you communicate. The second thing, though, was I really felt it, and it goes again to kind of having those conversations ahead of time. And thank you, because I'm like, I don't want to get it. I'm like, I'm probably going to not get another contract because I'm old. But I really do think there was time and spaces where I was shocked by just the assumptions inherently about what there was someone that said something to the effect of, this is how this community acts, or this is what, so we have to do that. We have to parent them in that way, essentially, or we have to, and it wasn't saying that this specific county is set up this way, and so our response has been this. It was a very generalized, oh, well, that's what those people do. And so it made me say, okay, well, then if I'm coming to you and if I'm coming and saying, hey, come on, engage in this and that, and we haven't had that real conversation. And I know we always talk about, we're in a culture and a generation of talking about wokeness and biases, but I think sometimes we hear those words all the time that it gets, people are like, I'm tired of that, right? Or I don't, that's not for me to chew on right now. But I think that finding ways to do it in a systemic, like in a systemic way where we're really mapping out where these spaces have had impact is necessary before, or not before, but while we're bringing young people in, because it was a hard hour after that presentation where we're just like, what just happened? Where are we going, or what kind of impact are we having? So I learned a lot, but I also learned that there might be some background work that we have to do to pull each other in. It's not isolating or, banishing folks out, but really calling each other in, not calling each other out.
Thank you, Kyla. Sydney.
The sessions I sat in, all of them, they were pretty much just to speak my truths. But like in the special populations one that Kyla spoke of, there was a lot of great feedback until maybe the end. And honestly, I was really surprised at how great the feedback was, because I felt like I had some hard truths to speak about. And so then maybe towards the end was when we got the question that everyone was kind of like, what? But honestly, the question that was asked had the same answer to everything else I said about, like, kind of along the lines of what Kyla said, that like this is how we're taking care of ourselves to the way that we're allowed to, and that they see these problems but they're not doing anything to help them. And also just other than that, I couldn't believe the great feedback that I got. Like, state officials from the other side of the country approached me and gave me their business cards and told me that, I'll give you an example. The director of youth justice from the state of Tennessee approached me. He told me, honestly, I don't think I could tell you one tribe from my state, but by the next time I talk to you, I'm going to know more, because I want to do more. And so there's those parts of it that I'm really holding on to, and I'm like trying to build off of. And it's those spaces that show us that those conversations needed to be held. And I appreciated all of everything, all sides of everything.
That's fantastic. Thank you also for you both, for your sincerity and your honesty, and because it is a learning curve in for everyone. And I think I also found that, everybody coming back in person also after this COVID was a factor of just re-socializing one another, right? And remembering that, what it means to be a good relative to one another, and being open to want to learn. And I think that you all really bring that forward. As young people, you help us as adults to stay accountable and to continue to think outside the box and to continue to look to you, because it changes. Maybe the issues don't always change, but how you do things definitely do change. And and I've seen that over all these generations of the decades I've been working with young people. We won't say how many, just kidding. So wonderful. Well, let's move to the second question, and to let our participants, our guests, know that we will at the end have a Q&A. We'll have an opportunity to ask them questions, and we'll be able to open that up to you if you start thinking about, you know, some of what those questions might be. The second question is, you know, what were some of these ideas or inspirations or those takeaways that when you walked away from this event, from these conferences, you walked away back into your world? What inspired you, or what were some things that really you grabbed onto and wanted, and you just ran with in regards to who you are? So let's start with Kaitlin.
Yeah, so I just really realized that my perspectives and my mindset was just is so unique, and my voice really made a change at the table. For me, I like, I guess a little bit more background. I'm a 7th generation Anthem rancher, and really implementing a lot of those teachings. I was raised by a lot of old people too, and to be honest, those old people were living through me that week. My grandfather, I got to share a lot about him, and a lot of the teachings that he taught me. I was able to. Those are the things that I, when I'm working with youth, when I'm doing my work, I try to implement those all the time, and I got to share some light on how my childhood, or my upbringing rather, prevented me from, you know, going down a rough path in a lot of ways. Like, you know, I wasn't perfect or anything, but you know, things could have been really bad. I don't think I would have been in the position or been at the place I'm at right now without my upbringing. And just really realizing that, and now trying to create this program that I started with my family, and, you know, just trying to bring that to my community now, and realizing like, hey, like, this is so worthy. Our children are so worthy of, you know, good and positive things, and what better way to heal than with, you know, horses, with your culture, with your language, your songs, with teachings of your ancestors, and in a lot of ways cooking too. To me, cooking is medicine. You know, obviously food is medicine, and just realizing that like, it was so unique, and people really enjoyed hearing what I had to say. And to me, that was like, what? you like hearing me? And they I had a lot of positive feedback. I started to recognize people in the panels that I was doing. I was like, hey, you were in the last one. They're like, we're making all the ones that you're in. I was like, really? Okay, thank you. And people were just super, super nice, asking questions a lot. One question that really stuck with me was at the end of, I think it was the first panel I did, Nothing About Us Without Us. Yeah. And this individual, she asked, you know, like, what do I do when my students are just having a, you know, like a bad day? I can't, you know, I can't engage them in their curriculum, this and that. And I just responded like, that's their right, you know, to be upset sometimes, to be sad, to be mad, just like how if they're happy, or, you know, that, to give them their right. Like, we're not meant to be these robots of just consistently, you know, smiling, even though I do that sometimes. But you know, we're meant to feel. You know, Creator gave us emotions for a reason, and we're meant to feel them. And let's normalize that. You know, let's normalize kids, you know, not having a good day and not being punished for it. You know, that was a big thing. And this was I forget where she was from, but it made me realize that even our like the adults in our communities also don't really know how to work, didn't know how to work with troubled, or maybe with a youth that was having a bad day. And it was just like, so just being able to walk her through that in a little bit was one of my biggest takeaways. And the comments she had to me after were pretty awesome too.
So one of my biggest takeaways was the language that everybody used. Everybody was like capitalizing on this. How are we utilizing youth? Da 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 da. And I just don't speak like that. But I realized there's always a level to professionalism that comes with how you approach things. And one of the biggest things is definitely how you speak in making a first impression. So my biggest thing was definitely, at least in my written work, I guess I can say, because obviously I don't usually speak so formally. So in my written work, I have definitely taken a thesaurus chapter out in my life, and I am improving the language within my own documents to just dress it up and make it sound as fancy as these people that we're trying to get to hear our voice. I'm realizing that now it is good to buy into their language and, you know, talk like the man. But like, I do realize that if I want to be heard on different levels within youth engagement, that there is a certain level of improvement within myself that I need to make. So taking that concept into mind, I have decided to go ahead and pursue a bachelor's degree. So I will be graduating in May with the double associates, and I was very proud of that. But I mean, I really hadn't decided to take that anywhere, just because education in that sense to me was not my goal, which to me, I'm very goal driven within my own self, not within the path that most people take. So I've realized that the inspiration that I got from the conference can go ahead and inspire me to do better. And also, I am beating a statistic if I continue education, so why not stick it to the man? So that's my biggest takeaways as far as what's going to drive me in life as well, and in my own personal achievements. So I'm very excited about that. Another thing was within the youth call to action workshop that we did. That was so amazing to me that it's always amazing to me within these conferences that we get such a sampling from across the nation and such a wide range of ideas. And even just one idea takes so many turns. I think we put out an idea on the table and we got like 20 different other turns to take from that. And just seeing that we are all connected by one issue, and that's youth need the chance. They need to know that there are options aside from what they are dealing with in the moment, day to day as a youth. Whether that's, you know, the problems you're dealing with as a 14-year-old, or the stability that you need to deal with as an 18-year-old, or even just the adulting you need to figure out at a 20-year-old. So there is always a need for knowledge and a need for somebody to reach out their hand and say, you can do more things than just what you're dealing with in that moment. And when I see the youth all together, it's so amazing because I feel like we are the youth that are handing out that hand to the next generation. So that's a big takeaway for me. It was just that we are there, and we're not only improving ourselves day to day, we are reaching out and letting the other youth know that there is something to look forward to after each day.
For me, I think some big inspirational parts of the conference were like that second day when we were the very first panel on the STRAD side of the conference. And that's when Administrator Ryan was front row. So, you know, at first, lots of nerves. And then we're up on stage in front of all these people telling everyone about our terrible childhoods. and fighting these tears back. And on the table, we're passing back and forth a note that says, "We are worthy." And that got me through it, honestly. And then after we were done, we all walked down, we went to the back of the room, and this man came up to us and he told us, "I don't think those hurts were meant for you. I think those hurts were meant to show other people that they can get through them too." And it all of it, I take all of it in every single day. My life is not easy, even as we speak. I try to implement all of that with how I raise my niece and my nephews. And other than that, I have been trying to develop a plan since 2018 it was originally to save my community. I walked out of my store, the one store in my town, and my little sister's old best friend was asking for money because she had the shakes. This little girl was 14, had the shakes from alcohol addiction withdrawal. And, at the time, that's what I thought the problem was. But this problem wasn't just in my community. It was kids suffering all over my res. And then I go to places like the National Congress of American Indians, and it's kids suffering this way on all reservations. And then I go to this conference in San Diego, and I meet people like Kyla and Tina, and it's kids everywhere. We're all suffering. And there were words, I'm pretty sure Kyla said it to me, that said, she asked, "I wonder if I knew my ancestors' culture, if I felt like if I would feel different in this world." And so that brings me back around to Kaitlin and her perspective on culture and language, and bringing that kind of healing into places like the juvenile justice system, I think would be very beneficial, because, culture is such a beautiful thing that it doesn't matter if it's your culture, my culture, the culture of maybe whose ancestral homelands you live on. You don't have to profit from culture to benefit from it. And so from that, we're trying to move forward with meetings with Administrator Ryan and CCAS. And then other than that, trying to live in a good way.
Thank you for sharing that, Sydney. That's actually what I was going to say. I left with, though, like, from a lot of times I'll use words like culturally competent, or kind of water down what I mean, and just wanting to know and appreciate and have celebrated. I think a lot of times, especially when you're in the urban city, you see what's glamorized, or even what's focused on by the mainstream. And it's so much negative, so much pain, it's so much, but the truth is like, within that pain, from that pain, as a product of that pain, is a lot of beauty and a lot of connection, and a lot of opportunity to see, even when I'm speaking to teenagers who think I'm old now, which is crazy. They like what they call me old. I'm like this. But I'm kind of enjoying being an old lady. But anyway, in those conversations, though, it could be about a beef with someone who's from another neighborhood, and at the core of it, when we talk about seeing someone as a part of your community and understanding or appreciating a certain social responsibility that we have to one another that has really been taken through colonization, through mass incarceration, through a lot of the hardships that have been brought on communities that weren't that long ago. I remember even learning about like 2 years ago, and I felt really bad that I didn't know that the government like bombed the Black Panthers and just other movements that are it's not the fact that like, it's not necessarily the position on either. It's just the fact that I didn't know certain things happened. And this was only 50 years ago, 30 years ago. And through that, the conversations that I've heard, or the songs, or just the appreciation, the getting to walk outside of the hotel and see beautiful Native American tribal jewelry and fabrics, and just that acknowledgement of while there is pain, there's so much beauty as a tool to engage community is what I took back. And yeah, Mylan says she still has her necklace. It's something that really gave me a different idea about how to engage folks. It doesn't always have to be negative and sad. It can be educational about who we are, where we come from, where we want to go, while also understanding and getting a better understanding of the systems that we're all interacting with. That was the biggest thing. Also, I realized that I am hoping to step into a role where I turned 25 this past year, and really bringing the experiences of folks that are currently engaged. For instance, like the PINS reforms that have happened in my area, the persons in needs of supervisions reform. If I was to get in the same trouble now that I got in back then, I would have been diverted to a mentor and something positive, and so at some point, you do have to, even as a young person, leverage your ability to connect with others. So me and Wile and I have really been trying to get current information, whether it's going to the detention centers and speaking and being able to present on trends, so we're not impacting anybody's case individually, but making sure that we're staying current and staying up to date to respond to what's happening. So.
You all are so in the space of understanding and seeing. As I watched all of you at the conferences moving around and talking to one another and talking to others, and really getting some good insight, not only for yourselves, but you truly were educating many of us as adults to how you all feel and and what's important. And so I kind of want to come back to a little bit of what I heard a little bit about, is this relationship that you all built with Administrator Ryan. And I will have to say that, that is not the usual, to have your administrator spend some time, as much time as Administrator Ryan did with everyone. And so can you share a little bit, and I'll jump over to Katie, this relationship you all began with Administrator Ryan?
Yeah, so she was she was super like easygoing. Made it, at first I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh my gosh. But she made it real easygoing. She you could tell she put herself in a position to learn, which was very refreshing, coming from a person in her as she holds her position and like her age and stuff like that. She really came to learn when she came in to talk with us. And one thing that really sticks with me, and I think about it quite often, is all children are our children. To me, that's like a really decolonized mindset, and it's so beautiful to hear that, and it's very refreshing again to hear that, and for her to be saying that, to me, that just speaks volume of her character, of what she stands for, and so that's what really speaks to me, and that's what I will hold forever with that, the conference and our relationship with her.
Fantastic. And I know that you all had the opportunity to sit with her and interview her and really asked her some hard questions, and she was more than open to answer those questions. What of those questions stood out for you? And I'll bring this back to Sydney, and then I'm going to ask Kyla and Tina to chime in on their call to action with Administrator Ryan.
I think when we asked her about her Let Children Be Children initiative, and she started talking um, about how all children are our children, like Katie said, that was so powerful to me, because like um, you know, in our languages, there's no word for things like cousin. So my cousins are my brothers and sisters, and their kids are my children. And further than that, like my siblings' children are my children. Um, like Katie said, a very uncolonized way of thinking about it. And that just, it was, I don't know, beautiful, because it does take a village to raise a child. And when we're all here for children, then they can do beautiful things when they feel like they're loved. And um, Administrator Ryan really went around all of these things about how she really wants to make children essentially feel like they're loved, they're worthy. And here she was making us feel heard. And in the end, uh, just to kind of solidify this new relationship and also to wish her good luck, I gave her kind of a personal traditional story. And I'll say another thing, through the national conference, I've felt more able to speak about my traumas. Before, I've never been able to speak about anything. But with the end of our interview with her, I gave her a gift. And on this gift, it had dragonflies. They were parfleche earrings. Parfleche is like stretched deer hide, has no fur on it, and you make paintings and different things on them. And I wanted dragonflies on these earrings. I never got to wear them. And so I decided maybe there was a reason. And dragonflies for me have always been my favorite bug. Growing up, my grandma, she'd always say they're a good luck bug. And she'd have us catch her dragonflies. We have a 200-acre ranch, and there was dragonflies all the way down the creek. So we'd catch her dragonflies, and she'd put them in her wallet for good luck in her money. And so then I grow up, and I got to start being around my dad. And my dad's a different tribe than my mom. And in his tribe, dragonflies signify fertility. And I'm a teenage girl, so he's like, oh no, that's not your favorite bug. But it just felt like it fit. I gave these earrings to Administrator Ryan, and I wished her good luck with our children. And she wrote us back Christmas cards, and in my Christmas card, they were handwritten. She told me that she was wearing those earrings. So I hope they're doing us good.
Beautiful, beautiful, Sydney. Thank you. That's powerful. Thank you. And so we'll take just a couple minutes here, Tina and Kyla, and I'll just kind of defer to who wants to share about this call to action that you have, this relationship with Administrator Ryan.
Yeah, I'll jump in. It was really, I think the call to action was the most meaningful moment. It's when you are able to, and to your point about it being rare, I was like, oh my gosh, you do not seem like you're there's personalities you assume are, very formal and and so I think just the initial being able to have a conversation that was intentionally collaborative, but also inquisitive, to everyone's point. When someone genuinely wants to learn, and especially at in a position like that, it makes you not only want to share like your experience, but it's a very rare. And so we're like, oh my gosh, okay, what are we missing? What gaps aren't here? Who do we even were like, okay, she needs to meet Devontae. He didn't get to come to the conference, like these, who else can we pull in, because it's rare, right? And it was the biggest privilege. But at the end, having the next steps, a lot of times, especially, and I live in DC, so y'all know I'm used to a lot of talk, and it's not a bad thing. I think sometimes when it's great to have the aspirational conversations, right? But when it's a next step, like, okay, what are we going to do? And I'm inviting you all to be a part of that process. It makes it tangible. Like, it's not just, I met this awesome lady who seems who is very invested and seems passionate about this work. It's no, we're developing something, and I can call other young people, other leaders, actually other just directly impacted folks, because there's a lot of people over the age of 25 or the SAG age for youth that when we went and said the work, they're like, I was incarcerated when I was 14 and ended up being incarcerated until 34. Your story needs to be heard too, right? And so, like, how are we continuing to build this collective power? It's only we're only able to do it by that understanding that it has to move forward. So the biggest thing was having Director Ryan talk about, like, okay, next steps. This was great. Let's get stuff tangible down. And some of the calls to action were really expanding OJDDP's youth engagement efforts and supporting and really being thought partners in that process. So of course it's flattering and all of that stuff, but it also, in terms of the work and being able to not just talk about what you want to see change, and do some implementation work was the most exciting part for me.
Fantastic. Tina, did you?
I would definitely say, piggybacking off of both of what they said, it was amazing to feel like we were part of the family. I mean, OJJDP's family, tribal community family. I mean, everybody was so welcoming that our ideas just flowed. It wasn't like we were bringing things to the table to be seen and heard. It was just having a conversation. And from that, it felt like things were put into place. And I mean, even just little small things like follow-up meetings, little emails here and there. The Christmas cards were awesome. I sent out a smorgasbord of them. It was great. I feel like I took every business card that I could possibly get my hands on. And I'm sad for people because I didn't have any business cards to hand out. So I was getting pieces and scraps of paper to get emails. So I think it was amazing just to be able to feel so collaborative and heard and networked. But another thing was that, like Kaitlin mentioned, the family aspect. I understand, like, within my own family, we take care of each other, whether you're brother, sister, niece, nephew, auntie, uncle. I mean, if somebody calls, you're going to be there for them. It could be across the state, it could be across the country. We're going to figure out how to get together at some point throughout the year. And everybody feels like your brother, sister, mom, dad right there. So I enjoyed the fact that even though there was so much going on, Administrator Ryan just made the time to make me feel heard within those few minutes that I was able to get of her attention. And it never felt like she was pulling away or like, oh, well, I got to get to this next meeting, even though we all had to get to the next meeting or to lunch so we could eat or to breakfast. We all knew we needed to be somewhere, but nobody ever made us feel rushed. And I appreciate that, because at some conferences, it gets to the point where, you're supposed to be in that workshop. Why are you not in that workshop? Hey, what are you doing over there? Your youth running around. And I never felt the pressure of being hovered over like, why aren't you in the workshop you were supposed to be attending? It felt like genuinely everybody wanted to learn from what we had to say, even if it ran into a couple of minutes of somebody else's time. Everybody was so willing to allow for that. So I mean, that in itself allowed for so much freedom of thought. So I appreciate all of that.
That's wonderful. That's great. And I think that again, this all comes back to, telling your stories, building those relationships. So we want to move right on in and just take, just a few moments for you all to share, maybe some resources or some thoughts that you'd like to share with our tribal youth coordinators and our grantees that are working with our Native youth. So let's start with you, Tina, since you just wrapped up with Administrator Ryan, and I see that we have already in the chat a link that you shared. So if you could take a moment and share with us what that is.
So the one that got dropped in the chat right now is an application to sit on the Foster Care and Alumni Policy Board. And so throughout the year, we work on different policy recommendations. We work closely with different programs. Some, people are familiar. I don't know if I'm allowed to just like name drop, but I mean, we work closely with nationally known groups. So I mean, it's definitely up there. Your voice will be heard. We do meet, I think it's bi-monthly, and then there's different subgroups that meet together on different sections of the policy recommendations to dive deeper into those and collaborate to write those up and then send them off to the people above us. But so I've been sitting with them for about a year now, and the applications are open again. And I've enjoyed it. You are compensated for your time as youth, which is always a great thing for us. And we actually just made it to where we're compensated monthly instead of quarterly. So that's always a big thing. So encourage those youth monthly stipends. And I will say, like, it's a good stipend for a youth. Like I know sometimes we're offered and it's like $10 a pop, and like, this is not one of them. This is the one you want to be on. So that's always encouraging. But so there was a question about how long the policy or the application is open. And right now we extended it because we did not have as much applications as we were hoping to. So it's extended for quite a bit of time. I will definitely go ahead and get the exact dates just so that everybody's clear. Hopefully within the time of this meeting, but if not, I will make sure to get that out to those who are interested. But feel free to copy and paste the link and get that sent out. We are very excited. If there is any Native youth that would like to join, that would be amazing. But across the nation, we're looking for applications. So, but this is just a great way to get some youth voice out there. I believe the application is open to age 30. So, I mean, it's also one of those ones that, it's a higher age one, which is great. Another whoop whoop. But so there's that opportunity. But so there's other opportunities that I've been getting involved with that I just believe that will intersect all the work that I've done previously, and that I'm hoping to continue to work on now that a lot of my youth projects are kind of wrapping up at this time, because I am getting old. It's just a fact of life. But hey, like Kyla said, like Kyla said, I'm enjoying the fact that I'm getting a little old. Why not? I feel experienced. Honestly, I feel great because I could just sit back and like pet my cat and be like, homebody, Netflix, computers. So really, I'm just enjoying all of that. But yeah, there's that opportunity, and as many more come up, I will continue to keep everybody informed now that we are networking.
Sydney? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm talking to my niece. I would say any resources to offer, without any on the top of my head, I would say us, everybody in this session, and then not even just us, like maybe the rest of like our Tribal Youth Resource Center youth ambassadors. We have people in our group from Alaska to Rhode Island to Texas. Like we have seen a lot between the few of us. We know a lot and we're willing to help with a lot. You can always get my information from Jeri or Laura, or somebody might have it. um, I can drop it in the chat, my email, my phone number. Anybody can reach me on social media. I have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow my TikTok.
And I would just leave, of course, I know I plugged Clover Strategies as, shameless plug, but also allowing for follow-ups if there are folks who are interested in some peer support in either pulling in Lila, because I'm part of a bigger team, Youth Leaders in Action, and sometimes just that peer support is really helpful to build that excitement. But we also have been presenting on how to uplift emerging leaders. So the toolkit, Beyond the Box, Tools to Uplift Emerging Leaders. We are just waiting for it to be published. But in the meantime, I have my information. I'm gonna pop it right here. You can reach out, and I am doing a little bit of an overview presentation for folks who are really interested and want to do some collaboration. So we definitely will be sending a lot of blasts, I think, collectively to you all to pull you in again.
Exactly what Sydney said. I was like, man, I'm a resource. No. So, and I just wanted to, I guess, just say, it's very important to value and uphold our younger generations, not only to stress the importance of education and stuff like that, but also to encourage them in their daily thoughts and their ideas, as our youth have beautiful minds. They're not only our future leaders, but we should look to them as leaders in their own right today. So I just wanted to, and then another resource I always am gonna give them a shout out is DH Ranch out of Canada, Saskatchewan, Canada. They do healing through, horses and their culture, their language. They're a great resource, and they travel. They have a youth program too. I just, our kids are well, more than worthy. They're deserving of being thoroughly cared for. It is our responsibility to care for the younger ones, and to give them their right in their day to day. A lot of times we're consistently, well, for myself, I always find the people always saying like, you need to wake up to the fact that, our people are dying of like drugs and alcohol. But I'm like, we've actually known that for some time. I think even though we do lack the resources, the underlying problem is we're not allowed to process. We're not allowed to feel those feelings that Creator gave us. So I think what I would say is just be a good relative, be a good person, just be nice, and that can go a long way. Heal yourself with nature, and take over, or put yourself in those healthy spaces, take healthy risks, and because you're worthy, I'm worthy, we're all worthy. And I love you guys.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much, Katie. And I think that we're really at that time right now. So for those that have questions, please just go ahead and send them to us and or ask them directly. They gave you the information to ask those questions directly. And we want to thank you all for your time for today. I'm going to pass this to Antonia, who's going to share with you about the evaluation, and then Sydney's going to close for us.